let's delete this whole code. My audio is okay, I think. If there is any problem with my audio, please post it in the chat box. Okay, so we finished up with the link array list part yesterday. Okay, today we are going to start with the linked list. Like we saw the implementation and the introduction of linked list yesterday, but today we'll look into the coding part of that. Okay, how do we build linked list and how do we apply various functions on that? Okay, so today we'll look into that. Mm. So yeah, for linked list, I hope everyone is familiar what is a linked list. It is nothing. It's like just like an array, but in a linked list, each element is stored in different memory locations. Okay, and let's start with the example. Okay, how do we declare a linked list and all? Uh, First, let's just have our main function. Inside now, let's just see how do we declare a linked list. Okay, this is a doubly ended double-ended linked list. If you don't know, like there are two types of linked list. The first one has a single node, and this one has like it has nodes from the both sides. So it has the memory address of the other one also and the previous one also. Okay, so now we'll declare a generic linked list. Okay, which has a single data type. Oh, sorry, I messed up with the spelling. To import this java.util package, if you just put star over here, it will import the whole package instead of specifying each type. Okay, so if you just put down star over there, that would work. Okay, so we'll make a linked list of type string. Okay, string, we'll name it linked list only. Okay. Yeah, so this is how we declare, same as we declared an array list. Okay, so this is nothing different. It's the same thing we did over there. And now the how to add data, that is also same as the array list. Okay, the so that part also we don't have to worry about. How do we manipulate the linked list, how do we add data, remove data and all. We simply have this add method over here, and using the add method you can add any random strings. Okay, let's just copy this. So yeah, this is so yeah, this is how we declare a linked list. And the last step we should be aware is how to iterate over it. Iterating, uh, we can we can iterate over it using a like a for loop also would work, or you could also use the iterator interface, as we saw yesterday how to use that iterator interface. So we can use that iterator over here. Okay, this is a iterator interface. Keep in mind this is not a class, this is an interface. Okay, we'll give our linked list dot iterator. Okay, iterator method is there. This will iterate over our linked list, this method. Okay, there's some error over here. We wrote a double is equals to sign over there. That's why it was throwing us an error. Okay, now we can use a simple while loop to loop over it. Okay, itr.hasNext would work. Okay, hasNext means until it has elements, it will keep on looping through the through the list, the linked list. Okay, so the process is same as I told you yesterday. Keep the operations which we perform on those is same, but the only difference between the normal array list and the linked list is uh, the data manipulation under the hood. Okay, like internally linked list is faster in terms of performance. Okay, because as I told you, the elements are not stacked like in a row. Okay, not stack would be a wrong word for that, but like they are not stored in a single location, one after the other. They are stored in different locations. That's why the performance part is like better than the array list. Okay, see the same thing we iterated and we get our whole list. Okay, so this was about linked list. And we also have other methods if you want to remove this. If we like there are lots of methods in this. Okay, if you want to clear the whole list, then we can just use the dot list. Okay, there's one more interesting method in linked list, and that is the uh, this peak method we have. Okay, linked list dot peak. Okay, so peak method, what it does is it gives us the first element of that linked list. Okay, so whatever the first element of that linked list would be, it would give this peak method would give us. If you have done little bit of work with little bit with data structures and all, then you must be familiar with this peak, push, poll. We have these different kinds of things in stack. If you see, there is the push and pop things we have over there. Okay, peak method is nothing. It's a method by which we can retrieve the first element of that linked list. Okay, whatever linked list we have, we wait, I'll show you. It is just to get the first element of that linked list. Yeah, so if we just try printing out the linked list.peak, let's see what we get. It will give us the first element. Okay, there's one more method. There's the poll method. Okay, the poll method retrieves the last element of the linked list. Okay, instead of peak, if we write so this will give us the last element of the for linked list. Okay, see, it is giving us the last element. No, it is something wrong. No, poll is not like that. It like retrieves the first elements and removes it from there. Okay, so like if we do this, if we run this one more time, it will because like we didn't declare a static list, that's why it was showing us again. But yeah, this is what it does. It like removes the first element. Okay, peak, what it does, it retrieves the first element. See, what poll means is it retrieves and removes the first element of the list. Okay, it first retrieves us and like it is used to remove the first element. Like there are lots of them. Okay, we have the remove method also if you want to like remove something from the first. Okay, like the like from the first position or some indexed whatever position, if you want to remove, then we can use the remove method also. Like there are lots of them. There is a size method also. It gives us the size of that linked list. Okay, you can, if you want to know the size of the linked list, there's the size method. It gives us the size of our linked list. See, it is giving us 6. Okay, we have 6 elements, right? uh, yeah, and contains also is there. Like there are lots of them. Okay, if you just declare a linked list, just try the control shift control space over there, you'll get this list. Okay, of all the elements that we have. And yeah, that's it. Okay, we'll move on now. We'll see now what is set. Okay, or array list versus linked list. I think I told you yesterday what is the difference, major difference between both of them. Now we'll go and look into set. Okay, and what is set and all. Okay, So see, set is nothing. Set is just a collection in which like we cannot have duplicate entries. Okay. If what difference, what would be the major difference is ki list can contain duplicate entries, a set cannot contain duplicate entries. Suppose like if I try declaring AA again over here in this list, may that be a linked list, array list, or whatever kinds of list, but it can contain like duplicate elements. It can have multiple entries of same type. But if you don't want that, if you want you should have unique entries throughout your list, then you can use the set. Okay, set is used for that. Okay, like there are again various types of set. The first one which we'll see is the hash set. Okay, and hash set is something key. It stores elements in a random way. So when it doesn't have index, okay, it doesn't give you index because it uses the concept called hashing. Okay, so because of that, wait, I'll just show you by code key what is hash set and all. So like again, we have already imported our java.util class, so we don't have to again import that set uh, set superclass or set package over here. So we can directly, we'll first create a hash set. Okay, hash set of type string. Okay, and we'll have a new hash set. Okay, and yeah, this is how we declare a hash set. Okay, okay, so this is fine. I think key declaring hash set again similar to how we used to declare our list and all. Okay, but yeah, the major difference now will be key how do we store data in it and how do we retrieve data on it. Okay, again here also we have this add method. Okay, we can add it using a for loop also. Like if we are very lazy to like write randomly, we can use a for loop and add entries automatically. Okay, let it just consider it as an integer. Okay, integer, you have to use this. Okay, and let's just add data using a for loop because writing randomly is not so easy, and it also, so yeah, to what how much elements should we add? Let's add 10 elements. Okay, and again we can use for loop over here. Okay, and here we can just add elements using the for loop instead of randomly adding all of them. And you can just insert the value of I, and this will just randomly add all the elements. Okay, let's just try running this. Yeah, we didn't write any code to print out. Okay, so yeah, for printing the hash set, we have to again use the iterator interface. Okay, iterator, what we have integers over here. We have integers, so we'll write on integer and set dot like I hope everyone is comfortable with iterator because like for loop using a for loop is not feasible every time. Okay, so that's why I think iterator would be easier for that. Okay, um, we have to add a cast over here because the return type of this was not similar with the other one. That's why we added the casting over here. Key whatever you get, just convert it into an integer. Okay, And while our I dot while why it is throwing us an error key. Okay, it is saying just a minute, right? We'll fix this error. Okay. Oh, sorry. We used the iterable class over here. We have to use iterator. Okay, so you be very careful. They look very similar, but they could mess up the whole code. Okay. Yeah, we have to use this iterator, and here we'll specify what we have is integer. Okay, we'll just specify this integer over here. Now it is fine. Okay. Now we can use this has next to check the condition. Okay, and yeah, we could just directly print out whatever we have. Now you have to notice key during the when we print, what do we get? Okay, like this the output would be little bit weird. Let's just see what we get. See, now we didn't have much elements, but normally if you have like strings, like if you have a huge data set, the output comes out in a random order. Okay, if like it is not ordered. Okay, like I'll show you. Like we'll make a string, a list of string integers. Like sometimes they come, but sometimes if you have a huge data set, at this case we didn't have, we just had 10 elements. That's why it printed this in order. But one thing you can keep in mind ki if you are using a set, or especially the hash set, the output is not in the order in which we add the elements. Okay, so let's just try. Okay, we'll quickly add few string elements over here. Okay, we'll just copy this. Here we have to specify string. Okay, so now we have a hash set which has strings in it, which is like a collection of strings. Okay, so now if we like, with the other thing would be same, nothing would change. We just change the elements over in it in a string. See, now if you notice, the output isn't in ordered form. Okay, we first had A, then we had B, but it printed in an unordered way. Okay, so this is how it happens in set. Okay, and one more thing I'll show you. If you like have duplicate entries, if you like again add A, that wouldn't be considered. Okay, see, it didn't print that AA again. We had, like, if you see here, we added AA two times, but it didn't. That thing didn't show up in our output. Okay, so that is a point you should keep in your mind. Ki the major difference between a list and a set is ki in a list, we can have duplicate entries, and but in a set, okay, any set, okay, like not hash set, there are different kinds of set also. But so in a set we cannot have duplicate entries. The elements has to be like elements have to be unique, whatever you are adding in it. Okay, so that is one thing you should keep in your mind. uh, okay, so again, in this also you have various kinds of methods if you want to like play around with it. Okay, if you just have set dot um, we can directly remove any element if you want. Here you have this remove method, and here whatever you want to remove, suppose you want to remove anything, you could just specify. Suppose you want to remove the ccc1, so if we'll just use that method, it will remove it. And yeah, we don't have a that thing in our output now. Okay, so that is not a big deal. But you could play around with all these methods. There are lots of them, as you can see here. We also have a for each loop over here. If you want to try it out, we have a for each loop. But for that, like you can, I'll suggest ki use an iterator interface. Iterator interface can be used anywhere, okay, and it is very easy to use. Uh, Instead of making up code for the for loops and all, okay. Uh, you can also have a set of like different classes, okay. Like now what we had is we had a simple set of yeah this like simple set of just normal strings and integers, but yeah, you can have a set of multiple classes also, okay. I'll show you multiple classes or multiple object, whatever you call it, okay. First, let's just try something. How can we have a set of objects, okay, not like set of instances of different classes. Like instances are not different, even if you have multiple instances of same classes, then in that case, what how can we do it? Let's just see, okay. What should we do? We'll have a student class, okay. We'll have a student class now, and let's make it. And inside the student class, we'll have three entries, okay, three or four, whatever you want. First one would be integer and ID, okay. Uh, String, his name, his class, and what again you can have. Mm, yeah, that would be fine, okay. We'll if we oh sorry class, sorry, we cannot have this keyword, okay. You'll have to specify something different. Or you can specify year also over here, so year would be fine. Okay, and one more thing, one more integer we can put integer like uh, suppose roll number, okay. That's it, okay. So we have four variables now, two integers, two strings, okay. And let's just create a constructor for this class, okay. You can directly create a constructor, I think over here. If you go here and yeah, here you have this option to generate constructor. If you like take what fields you want in the constructor, you can directly create it. See, as you can see, it automatically creates a constructor for us, a ready-made constructor we have. But if you want to do it by hand, by code, by writing it, you can also do it. That's not a big deal. So yeah, this is how this is we declared a constructor. Let's remove this super keyword. We don't need it for now. Super this, I hope everyone knows the difference between super and this. Super just means a reference to the super class, okay, or the parent class, and this means the reference to this present class, okay, whatever the child class is, okay. Yeah, that's the basic difference. Don't get confused in that. Now here let's remove the whole code. Now what we are going to see, how can we have a uh, set of objects of class, different objects, okay. Like just a minute, I'll show you, okay. I'll quickly make up the code and tell you how can we have a set of different kinds of objects, okay. So what was the name of this class? It was student, okay. Oh yeah, student. And so instead of specifying any type, we have our own type called student, okay. And here we can have the set, name it as set only. You can name it anything. And what we have is a hash set, okay. So yeah, that's it, okay. So it is, and yeah, one more thing, if you write it at both places, here and here also, then that is fine. Even if you don't write, still it's fine, okay. Like Java gives you that little flexibility. Otherwise, I don't think this was allowed in the previous Java versions. So yeah, let's just see how can we have different instances and add them in our class, okay. So let's create three different objects of that student class. So what was the name of that class? Student. Name it S1. Okay. Hope everyone is very much familiar now. Ki how do we create instances or objects of different classes. Level 0, 1. Again, name could be anything. A, and it should be a string. Year would be FY. We could take like first year, second year, whatever. Roll number also would be anything. We will create four different kinds of instances, okay, and we'll try to put it into a hash set, okay. As you can see now, we don't have, we all have all the duplicate entries over here. So I don't think this would be valid. As I told you, ki set couldn't have duplicate entries. So we will change all the entries whatever we have, okay. Yeah. So now we changed it. Name it like anything we can name. SYTY and whatever year we have, HY, anything we can have. Uh, just throwing an error over here. Let's see what error is it. Oh, it is some exceptional case. Or yeah, three we can have. Okay. So yeah, now we created four different five, in fact five different objects of that class. Okay, on that student class we created its five objects. Let's now add these. Okay. Uh, so how do we add it? It's pretty simple. As we know, key we could just do this set dot add. Okay. Why it is not showing us? We'll name it something different because it gets confusing if you name a set as set only. Set stu would be fine. So it's a student set. Oh, why we did a mistake. We didn't write our main method only for that. So we'll quickly write our main method. That's why it was not showing up our that. Oh yeah, now this will show up the add method now because sctstu dot add, okay, and we'll add our objects over here. Well, we have four objects, we'll add them, okay, and five objects we have, five we created. We'll just add them in the order which they are, okay. Yeah, now we added all of them. Now let's just iterate through our objects and see what we get. uh what should we use? We can use an iterator also. We can, if you want a for each loop, we can, let's use a for each loop. Now we've been using iterator from a long time. So we have a student collection, not collection. We have a student array kind of thing. So now we can use that, okay, and we can name it, and we could just name it set. And yeah, so this is it, okay. Now we can just, every time it goes inside that, we could just print whatever we have over there, and we could print like stu dot id plus you have to put up spaces over here so that it doesn't mess the whole thing, because otherwise they would be sticking to each other. That's why we need spaces. stu dot name dot year stu dot which one is left? We left the roll number. Okay. So yeah, now we also have our print statement. Okay. So let's just try how can we iterate over that list of objects. Okay, that bunch of objects we have. Let's just try running this code. See now, also you can notice it over here. Ki, the data which we are getting after iterating is not in ordered form. Okay, it is random. So like if we have a like a linked list or array list over here, like let's try changing it into an array list, then the data would be in ordered form. Okay, now if we run this code, see now we are getting it in a very neat and ordered form, but that case is not true. Also, if we like have duplicate entries, I told you ki duplicate entries are not allowed in that. If we like again try here adding s1, okay, like, dot add s1, okay. So now if we like again try to add this inside our set, this would not like no, sorry, we have an array list over here, that's why it was allowed. Now again if we go and like make it our hash set again, hash set again, if we make it, sorry, will yeah, now we have our hash set, and yeah, and now if we try to add it again, it will not be accepted, because like set is made for that purpose only, ki you should not have duplicate entries in it. Okay, that's why it was made. Okay, hierarchy, if we try to go on this hierarchy, like hash set extends abstract set. Okay, and it is like extended by the set interface. So if we like see the whole hierarchy curve, then it is also like extended by the whole superclass of whole of this whole things is the collections framework on, and above that the iterable interface only. But it is like the tree diagram, like we saw yesterday, the tree diagram of that, in what hierarchy these different kinds of collection things are distributed. Okay, there's one more thing that is called vector, but vector we don't need them. Okay, those are like very manual stuff. Now we have various kinds of new collections, we don't need them in today's date. But the vectors was, I would say, the oldest, like the first collections framework when came into existence in the JDK 1, then vector used to be there. Okay, why roll number are different from what we passed the roll number at time of object creation. Yes, it is something. Yeah, it is different. What is we could have just uh, let's just try having our super keyword again over here. Let's just see now what we get. We use the zero over here. I think because of that, it could have done something. It could have messed internally. Yeah. There could be very weird cases when you write code in Java. Sometimes it behaves very weirdly. Let's see now what we get. Now we are getting it correctly. I think we used zero in before it. That's why it was giving us the wrong thing. I don't like. There are exceptional cases in Java. Like it is a very weird thing to as you like keep on practicing this, you'll see various different kinds of cases in it. Okay. Someone is asking ki will it accept input with 1 and 3 similar values? See, it can accept inputs if we have the same values over here, but the object name should be different. As I told you, ki, if I pass like see, all these are not something like this. What we have here doesn't matter, but this object name matters. Okay, so if we have this same entry and we create one more object of that same entry, this would be valid. Okay, this would not mess up the code because the object is different. Although its entries what we are passing in it are the same, but the object is different, so it will accept it. Let's just see it. Okay. See now, if you see the S1 and S6 are the entries over there are same, but if we try running this, okay, we get this again. Okay, see, if you see, we get this entries again. Okay, so yeah, the object should be different. Okay, use of all of these list. Why do like when you're building an application, where would you store a data? You cannot store data in a random integer. Okay, you cannot declare a random integer or a random string for every entry that you are getting. At that time you need these collections to store a huge set of data or store or manipulate whatever you want to do. So like this would be let's move on now. A linked hash set is also there. Okay, as we have a linked list over there, so linked hash set is also there. The concept is same. Okay, if you want to create data for 100 different students, then what we'll do is we'll create hundreds of these kinds of objects. Okay, and then we can feed those objects inside our set or list, whatever we want to do. Okay, so yeah, we can do that by that. Okay, you can like if you don't want to do this manually, if you want to like use a method, you can also write a neat method for this by which you can feed data into that. Okay, so yeah, that is not a big deal to worry about. But yeah, the concept, if the concept is clear, you'll like automatically get an idea what should we do with all these. Okay, linked hash set, I'll show you now. Linked hash set is also similar to a hash set, but uh, like linked hash set provide all the optional set operations and permits null elements also. Okay, so yeah, this is one thing about linked hash set. And one more thing, very important thing, ki linked hash set doesn't randomly throw up data on you. It maintains the order of data. Okay, if we like replace this with a linked hash set again, but as I told you, ki the concept of set, not the linked list. Linked hash set. Okay, here also we'll write it. Yeah, linked hash set. So in this case, the order of insertion, it will be maintained. Okay, so it's saying we have some errors over here. We have to remove this brackets. Yeah, so now if we try running this, now if you observe, the linked hash set didn't throw random data on us. It maintained the order in which we added. Okay, it see, if you can see, it maintained the order in which we added the data in it. So yeah, this little difference you should keep in your mind between the hash set and the linked hash set. And the other things, I would say other things are very much same. Again, you have the different kinds of methods over here for manipulating your linked hash set. You have the add, remove, like different kinds of methods we have in it. Okay, so we'll move forward now. Kind of set is we have a tree set also. Okay, like there are lots of them. If you like go want to do a research on these, like just open Google and see about the all the bunch of collections we have. There are lots of them, and according to your need, you can use any of it. And they are like very precise and like very good. Okay, so yeah, again, one more thing is there. There's a tree set. A tree set retrieval time, like the retrieval time of tree set is a little bit faster. Okay, uh, a tree set, baki the concept is same. Tree set can also contain unique elements only. Okay, if you like make it a tree set. Okay, tree set, again the thing is same. And how do we how to set this list in file format? I didn't get this question. Like you want to pass files in it, okay? That's what you're saying. So you can just specify the input type, like the type here is file, and you can import this java.io dot file package, and then you can pass files if you have any inside that set. Okay, if you have text files or whatever you have, like see the input what you are giving doesn't matter. If you are even giving an in simple integer, a simple string, that doesn't matter. Okay, because like we focus on the concepts for now. What are the little differences between all the collections? Okay, so yeah, see as I specified, input type as file, it is throwing an error. So we should have our input type as student only. So what we are seeing is linked hash set. Okay, let's see what we have, or what kinds of methods we have over here. Okay, we have this floor method. Okay, uh, like there are lots of them. Okay, if you like just open up its documentation, you'll get a lots of them. There are various methods over here. Yeah, you can use it. uh, Now let's just move forward. Let's see queue. Okay, we are done with list and set. Now let's just see what is a queue. Okay, queue is, if you have knowledge of data structures, queue is something key in which we follow the concept of FIFO. If you know what that is, key first in first out. Okay, it is like key every time you add a data, it will be the first one which would be included. That would be the first one to get out, because the entry point of that list is a single entry point, and the other one is an exit point. If you know stack uses the concept of LIFO, in that we have the last in first out. Okay, the last element which was inserted, that would get out first, and after that the other elements would come out. So let's just quickly look into list. Okay, sorry, queue. Okay, what is a queue and all? Queue, like it's a very useful data structure. Okay, if you're having some complex algorithms and all that, we have to use these kinds of data structures. So yeah, queue, again, there are different kinds of queue. We'll see the priority queue. Priority queue we have, and let's just give string only. String we have it, okay, and we limit q only, and we'll have a priority queue. So queue, I told you, Kisi, now when you code, when you practice, all things would look very simple and very similar. Okay, but like if you are making some product at that time, you'll know the difference of all of these different collections, and why do we need them, and why do they have all these kinds of collections. They could have had a simple array or a simple list or something. Why do they have all these kinds of collections? So when you like build something on it, then you'll know the difference, and you'll know the every little detail of every collection. Okay, yeah, in queue also same. We have add method. Okay. What is the name of our queue? EUE. Why it is not showing up? Oh, sorry. Very sorry. I forgot the main method again. Like I am not been coding in Java for a long time. That's why I like lost the touch in it. Like earlier, I used to work on it. For this seminar series. I like after almost 5 6 months I'm touching Java. That's why I lost the touch of it. Okay, so please bear with me for that. Yeah, now what we're doing is we are using a queue. Okay. uh, yeah, this is how we declare it. Okay, simple. Queue dot add, we have a method over here, same thing. You can have any number of it. Okay. So yeah, this is how we add. Okay. In queue, I'll tell you ki we cannot just randomly remove elements or add elements in the between. Okay. In this you have to be very specific. You can only remove element from one end, like which would be the last index of that queue, and you can add elements from only the zeroth index. Cannot randomly add or remove elements in the middle of that. Okay. This is a major point to note when you are working with queues. Okay. And like there are, oh, again we have various kinds of methods over here. First, let's just try iterating over it and see. Iterator, what do we have? If we don't specify, that would be still fine. Is equals to, yeah. Now we'll use our while loop. Itr dot has next. Yeah. Now we could print our elements of our list. Okay. So yeah. Now simple as that. It is going in a infinite loop. Let's see what we messed up. Okay. Uh, what is wrong with it? Oh, sorry, we have to we cannot print the queue. We have to like use our itr dot next, so that it will only print until it has elements in it. Okay. Now if we go here, it is very nicely printing the 5 elements which we added. Now I'll show you how what is the major difference here. What is the breaking point when you are working with queues. Uh, Now see, we if you like, you just see what kinds of methods we have in the queue. Then see, we have all these methods, but we don't have a method to add element like 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 remove elements from an index. Okay. If you remember, in the array list, we used to have in methods by which we can remove elements from a specific point or any index. Suppose you have a length of your array is 10, then you can remove elements from the fifth position, sixth position directly. But here we don't have that convention. So let's see what we have. See, we have this remove method. Okay. What this remove method will do, it will remove the last element of that array. Okay. So as I told you, the concept of queue is the last in would be the first out. Okay. I will name it something different. Yeah. So last in first out means the element which was added at the like last element which was added, that would get out first, and the first element which we added, it will keep on going in the list until it reaches the last point, and it will be removed after. So now let's just see what difference we have over here. Let's just have a little bracket over here. No, sorry, a little space over here between the lines, so that we can see the difference. See now, if we try running this code, it threw an exception to us. Let's why it threw FC. Uh, oh, we have to we have named it ITR1. We have to name it ITR1 here also. So yeah. See now as you can see, the first one which got added, it was at the last position. You know, think of it like a block of like people which are standing in a queue, and the first person which was standing in the list that went forward, and people kept on adding beside like in the previous place. Okay, so what happened is the last element which was added, like so that was removed first. Okay, so as you can see here. Okay, and like if we try this one more thing key, q dot poll. Okay, if we use this method, then let's see what we get. Okay, so q dot peak poll, these are two methods. Poll retrieves and removes the head of its queue. Okay, and returns null if the queue is empty. So and let's see what happens with the queue. See, poll, what poll does is it does the same thing as the as our normal remove does. It removed the first element. Okay, let's just see peak. Also, we also have something called peak. Okay, so now let's just see what we get. It added that removed element now. Okay, see B which was there, it was removed earlier because of poll, and it peak added that element again. So yeah, you can manipulate this all these collections according to your needs. Okay, like there are lots of methods and lots of collections. We cannot just look into each of them. Now we'll move forward and look into maps. Okay, what we have maps. I think it's FIFO. No, Q is not FIFO. Uh, no, sorry, Q is FIFO. The first in is first out. LIFO means last in, first out. Oh, sorry. Both of them sound very similar, but there's a difference. Last in, first out means the elements which was added at the first position. Okay, means the last one. Okay, if you know stack, the stack is something like you think of it like a empty box. Okay, and in an empty box you keep on you are piling up elements on the top of each other. So in that case what would happen is the element which you added in the last position, okay, the topmost element would have to get removed first. And think of queue like you have an empty box which is open from both the ends. So you'll be adding keep on adding elements from the first end, and elements would come out from the last end. So like if you see if you're piling up things in that open box, the elements which you added very first, that would get out. Okay, and in stack what would happen is the box doesn't have other end, so it will come out from like the elements would be on the topmost position that would come out through that. Okay, q is FIFO and stack is LIFO. Keep this basic difference in mind. Okay, like the if you like imagine this in a yeah, q is like a bus. The one who will come first will go inside, and he'll also come out from the other door. Okay, if you travel in the Pune's bus, the PMT, you have to go in from the no, from the back door, and you have to come out from the first door. So think of it like that. Someone is going in from the back door. The first person who went inside, he have to go out first from the front door. And like if you think of stack, think of the front door is not there, you only have the back door. So the person who would go in the first position will have to wait until the all the people who are at the back would come out. Okay, so so that is a very simple example. You can relate with these with your real life examples also. we cannot see how they work internally, but if you know the concept of that, you can imagine ki how these data structures are working. Okay, so yeah, let's move forward now. We'll see our last collection. After that, we have to do one more topic today. So one more thing we have is map. Okay, what is a map? Let's see now. Map is nothing. Map is a data type in or a collection in which we add data in a key value pair. Okay, that is a simple thing about map. Okay, again in map also we have different kinds of maps. We have hash map, normal, like we have different kinds of them. Now let's just tree map. We have hash map. We have linked hash map. Also we have. So see the concept when the word linked comes, you should know, you should compare it with the linked list key. The memory, it will be stored in different memory location. Let's see one example of map also. We'll take our, let's see linked hash map. Okay, hash map is same as the hashing, as I told you ki the data is stored in an unordered way. So yeah, now let's just see linked hash map. Okay, main method we have to write, and here we'll have our linked hash map. Linked hash map. See here you have to specify the key value. Key, what kind of key you would have and in what data type your value would be. So here we'll have a key of type integer, and we'll have our value in the type string. So we can specify that over here. Okay, and we'll name it. What should we name it? Map. We'll name it, and again this new linked hash maps. So yeah, this is how you declare same thing, but that you can as you can see over here, we don't have a single thing data over here. We have to store data in a key value pair. Okay, so this would be the key, and when you want to retrieve the data, you have to pass the reference of that key, and you can retrieve that data by the reference of that. Okay, so let's just add some elements in it. Okay, map dot here is, if you see, we don't have the add method over here. Instead we have this put method. Okay, so what this put method would do, we'll have to add elements in key value pair. We don't have an add method over here. In the other data structures, we'll have list or set, we have a add method. Here we have a push. Okay, here what we specified, key, our key would be integer, and our value would be uh, uh, a string. Okay, let's just have some of them. We'll, yeah, this is our map, and you can like iterate over this uh, using a iterator also, or if you want to use a for each loop, you can also use a for each loop. Okay, so now what should we use? We could just use a, let's use a for each loop over here. Okay, that would be easy to understand. uh, Map dot why do we use hash map? Okay, map, I told you ki map stores data in a key value pair. Okay, so what that hash map will do is, it will, if you use a normal hash map. Okay, now we are using, what we are looking into is a linked hash map. But if you have a hash map, that would just store data in unordered way. Okay, we also in that thing we have some method to shuffle the data also. So if you just play around with those, okay, you'll get a clear idea. We'll use a for each loop, okay, map dot entry we can use, and here what we have is entry is integer, key type we have to specify, and even if you don't specify this, you have this flexibility. If you don't specify it, then it will automatically like check it, and you just give it a name, whatever you name you want to, just name it anything. And here what is the name of our map is map, and map dot entry set we have to give it, okay. So as you can see, it is doesn't have any error. So here, see here, what we have is this is a type, okay. The if you have a string inside, like think of it like in an array list, you have a list of strings, so you have to specify that type over here. But now what type we have is we have map entries, so we have to specify the type as map dot entry, okay. So now we'll just print out whatever we have inside our map. Now we have to use this sorry, get key, okay. If this, what this get key would do, it would get the key of that, okay, key of that entry. And one more we have to do is the dot get uh, sorry, get value we have over here. And what this will do is it will get the value of that key, okay. If you just want the value, you can use value. If you want the key of that, you can use the other, okay. So let's just try running this. So as you can see, it gave our data in this key value pair. We didn't give space, that's why they are sticking together. So yeah, now as you can see, it very neatly did that, okay. Keys has to be unique, but yeah, obviously key has to be unique. You cannot have duplicate keys. Let's just see if that is valid or not, okay. If you try, it is now accepting, but yeah, it didn't accept that. As we saw, we gave it similar keys. It was not, it wasn't valid. So if you have duplicate keys, you cannot do that. But yeah, you can have entries, or the values could be duplicate. That would be valid, okay. So yeah, again I told you we have different kinds of maps. We have a linked hash map. We also have a normal hash map only. Uh, we have a tree map also, okay. See, if you use the hash map, it will use the concept of hashing, and it will store the data in random order. Okay. One more type of we have also have a tree map. So you can check out all those. Okay. We'll wrap up with the collections for now, and we'll look into one more topic, that is multi-threading. Okay. Multi-threading. What is multi-threading in Java? Why do we need it and all? Let's see now. Yeah. So what is multi-threading? Multi-threading is nothing. It's just a multi-processing in which, like, and it is a feature of Java by which you can run several processes parallelly. You don't have to wait ki this process would finish, after that one process will happen. So this is a process of Java, okay. What kinds of applications use multi-threading? If you have some GUI based apps or softwares, then you will need multi-threading sometimes. Like, even if you have a single threaded language, like take an instance for JavaScript, and in that case you have the concept of futures, sorry, not futures, there you have a concept of promises, promise and async await. You have all those things over there. So like there is a way out of it, but in Java you have you can directly have two different kinds of simultaneously, parallelly, one to by the other, okay. uh, what are threads? Threads are nothing. Those are just pieces of code that run concurrently, okay. You can read this, I'll send you. See, we here in threads could be running or dead, okay, or blocked. There are different states for the threads, okay. Java threads, you can read this. I'll send you this PPT. Okay, you can read all this. This has a very good explanation about threading. What we'll focus now is about the coding part. That is more important instead of theory and all. So let's just see what is threading or multi-threading, whatever you call it. See, thread is nothing, just a small part or a piece of program which you are writing. Okay, and sorry, and it has a thread can have following states. Okay, like it could have a new state. Okay, can be runnable, blocked, waiting. It can have 4 states. Okay, and thread can only have one state at a time. It could be either running, it could be either blocked, it could be either terminated, okay, or waiting, whatever you want to do with it. So let's just write simple, and keep this in mind. We have different methods in threading concept. We have a run method, which is the entry point of the thread. Whenever you'll trigger that run method, that process will start running. And the sleep method, we have sleep method stops that thread for whatever amount of period of time you specify over there. And we have a start method, which is used for calling the run method. Okay, we'll look into it very soon. See, we'll start with a very basic example. Okay, we'll see how to use the run method of the threading part. So we have a run method over here. We have to name that method as run. And here we'll just print out key. Yeah, this thread is active now. Okay. What we are doing is we are seeking how to make a thread active. Okay, how to trigger a thread. Okay, yeah, now we have it. Okay, so you have to extend this class as extends this thread class. Okay, keep this in also mind. Oh, sorry, we wrote it inside our main method only. Yeah, so this is now a different method we have for running, for triggering that thread. This thread is doing nothing, it is just printing key this thread is active. Okay, now we'll see how to start that thread. Okay, that we will have to create an instance of this class. Okay, main class, the name of our class is main. Okay, so we'll just create this instance or object, whatever you call it. We'll name it object only, and is equals to, okay, so now we have its instance. And as you can see, if we just type obj dot, we get this different kinds of methods. Okay, we can start our thread or to stop our thread. Okay, so we get these different kinds of method. What we want to do is we want to start the thread which is ready to run over there. Okay, so we'll use the start method. Okay, start method we have. Okay, so like now right now you'll not see nothing. There's some error in our code. We use this extra bracket. Yeah, now it will run. See, I can understand we are doing nothing, but we are, instead of directly calling or directly running that function, we are using threading. We are like using this little concept of threading to trigger that. Okay, now we'll see a bigger example. What do we have? What can we do when you have a bigger data set? Okay, or a bigger process to perform. Okay, in that case, what we'll do? Let's just make a separate method instead of writing everything over here only. Mm, let's just give it spaces. Okay, so now we have this class called count. Okay, this count class is there. Okay, and let's have a constructor for this class first. Okay, uh, constructor, as I told you how to generate a constructor. Go here in this source section. You'll get like there are no fields to specify the constructor, but okay, let's just, we have to do some operations in our constructor. That's why we will declare it over here. First we'll do key super uh, extending thread. Okay, now just try to follow along with me for some time. I'll explain you everything once we finish writing the code. Okay, just try to follow along what we are doing. Yeah. And also when you, if you are using the concept of thread, you have to extend that class with this thread, and with this thread package or class. This is an inbuilt class in Java. Java.lang package has this. So yeah, and after that we'll just do a system.out. Uh, uh, we'll create a thread, okay, and plus, and we'll start it in the constructor only. Okay. Okay, so now we'll write the code for making our now we'll make a method over here to like make a little piece of process, two processes which would run simultaneously. So we'll have methods for it. We'll have it public. We'll name that we'll have a void return type, and we'll name it as run. Okay, run. We have to name this. Run is then, like, if you go, this comes from the uh, runnable class. Runnable means from the thread class. Okay, so now we have to write, we'll wrap our code inside try catch blocks. So if something is messed up, we'll have to be prepared to handle those exceptions. Okay, so we'll just wrap this inside a try catch block. I is equals to 0. Okay, what we're doing is we're just iterating over it. Okay, and each time this operate, what we'll do is each time this for loop is executed, we'll make this thread to sleep for 1 second. Okay, so we'll just write it. Okay, key plus the value of I. Okay, and as soon as this line gets executed, we'll make the thread to sleep. Okay, to like sleep doesn't mean anything. Okay, it will just stop that execution, or pause that execution of that thread for amount of time we specify. Here we have to specify the time in milliseconds. So I think 1 second is 1000 milliseconds, I think. So yeah, we'll make it sleep for 1 second, or 2 seconds also would be fine. Okay. So now we'll write our catch block. Okay. If there is some interruption, in that case, what we'll do, okay, and we'll write our catch block over here. Here we'll have the interrupted exception. I hope everyone is familiar what is a try catch block. We saw this yesterday. Interrupted exception we'll have. Okay. Yeah. And here, as soon as it is interrupted by something, we'll print key the thread is interrupted. Okay. And as when the whole process would get finished, okay, when the whole execution of this would get finished, then we'll print key, yeah, ki this thread is over. Okay, this the yeah. So this is how we'll do it. Okay. Uh, So that's it, that we created one process over here. Okay, now we will go in our main class and see what should we do over there, okay, to like make this work. Okay, inside this main class, we'll first, as we know, we'll just create an instance of that class. Name of that class was count. We'll name it count only. Yeah, so we created this instance over here. Okay, here we'll have a try catch block also over here. Key whenever that because that like that class extends the thread. So whenever that is active or that thread is alive, we'll have to execute a piece of code. So that we'll write a code over here. Okay, uh, let's just write it inside try catch blocks. Okay, and try. We'll have a while loop. You can have any loop. Okay, see if we like see now here we have all these methods. He is interrupted, is daemon, holds lock, interrupted. Okay, is destroyed, resume. We have all these methods. So we'll use this is alive method. So what happens is check key whenever that thread is alive, print this piece of code key uh, main active or alive. Okay, and as soon as this also executes, we'll make this thread to sleep for some time. Okay, so now we'll just use thread dot sleep. We'll make it sleep for 3 seconds. 3 seconds is 3000 milliseconds. And we'll write a following catch block, so that if something happens, so we'll be able to catch those exceptions. Now, same, I will have our interrupted exception over here, and here we'll just print key interrupted. Okay, and when the whole thing is done, we'll finally print key main thread is also over. Yeah, so now we are done. Now let's just see what we are doing over here. Okay, now first let's remove this class, we don't need it. First we have this count class. Okay, this count class, what we are having is we are having a constructor, and inside the constructor what we are doing is as soon as the object is created, so as I told you, constructor is called first whenever you create an instance of a class. So as soon as the object is created over there, we are starting the thread, and as soon as we specify the start method, it will go and trigger this run method. Okay, what this run method will do is it will loop through 10 times over here and print the value of I. And as soon as one execution is done, it will sleep, or it will pause that thread for 2 seconds. Okay, and if we have any exceptions, we'll catch those exceptions inside this interrupted exception, exception class. And after that we just wrote key after the whole for loop thing. After the whole for loop is executed, we'll just go over here inside and print key the this thread is over. Okay, and our main class we created one more thread key whenever count is active. At that time, oh, like we have a while loop, and inside that while loop we have this condition ki whenever the count is active, means the as we are told the count thread is active, please just run this like execute this code. Okay, and here also we wrote ki if there are some interrupted exception, then just catch these exceptions, and after the thing is done, we'll just print ki main thread is over. Now just try to focus on the console what we are getting over here. Okay, see the our thread has started, and after every 2 minute pause, it will print it will print that. Okay, it will print ki the main thread is active. So two two operations are getting executed at same time. Ki as soon as that count, like the other thread is active, we wrote a while loop over there. Ki uh, see, we have two threads, right? We have this thread, this process we have of printing the counts of that. So what we wrote over here is ki we first created an object of that class, okay? And here we checked ki whenever that thread is active, whenever that thread resumed, okay, at that time do this operation also. So what we are doing is we are just trying to do both of these operations simultaneously. And if you just observe that code, you'll also see that ki both of these things are operating simultaneously. And as soon as the whole thing is over, we are getting this. Okay, we are getting ki the main thread is over, and as soon as this execution is also over, this will stop. And here, as you can see, we didn't write any end condition over here ki execute this thread until this number of sessions. But this is checking ki whenever that is active, until then only this will be working, or this will resume its work. Okay, one more time I'll show you ki how this is working. Okay, just observe the output what we are getting. See, now they are getting their order might like little bit be up and down, but they would execute it simultaneously only. Okay, so like if you are making some big scale application, then you'll definitely need this approach. Okay, then there you have to use this approach of multi-threading. Okay, and like you can design more complex, but I will not go into it, otherwise you will get many confused. Like many of you would get confused in this concept. So just stick to the basics for now. As you'll practice this thing, you'll get a clear picture of what threading is. Okay, one more thing we have in thread key, something called a thread life cycle. Okay, like a term we use while defining our threads. So what a thread life cycle is, I'll tell you. Okay, just a second. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so what a thread life cycle is ki the start. Okay, the like it has three states: the starting point, then the termination. Okay, so inside that we have different kinds of methods to pause or resume that thread. Okay, so like if we go over here. Okay, like we have this thread dot sleep, we have these different kinds of methods. So the life cycle of that would be ki the first one is ki the thread is invoked. Okay, the thread is called by our by our uh, the start method. Okay, and the we can also block that thread, or we can pause that thread using the sleep method. And the last point is ki when your thread is done, you can you have to terminate that thread. Okay, and one more thing we have is something called thread priority. Okay, if you have multiple threads there, if you want ki this thread would have more priority, so at that time you can give it priorities also. Okay, uh, blocking threads also you can do. Like there are lots of them. This is a very complex topics. Okay, like if you try doing threads, like it would completely can it be used to implement solutions of synchronization problems in OS? Yeah, you can see what like Java is multi-threaded. That's why you can do it. Okay, you have some other languages like if you know so JavaScript or Dart. Those are like single-threaded language. Okay, languages there you have to like there you have to use a very complex logic behind your futures. You have to mess up with the whole thing key, like the main thing which you want to execute until that. Because sometimes it happens like if you're working on an app. Okay, suppose like you are working on an Android app. If you do good in Java, you could definitely do that. So in that time sometimes there would be an operation key you want to like download something, okay, and at that time you don't want your whole app should freeze until your downloading is happening, okay. Sometimes if you're like downloading some video or you're just performing some complex operation, you're uploading something, at that time you don't want your whole application would stop until that process is completed, okay. At that time you have to use this key, that uploading downloading thing would run in a separate thread, and the whatever other stuff you want to do you can do it in the other thread, okay. So there you can use this concept of threading, okay. And again you can do lots of things. You can give priorities to the thread you want. If you want to you want this thing to happen first, you can also give priorities to thread. uh, so yeah, this was about thread. Okay, I'll suggest you don't worry much about threading and all for now. Just stick to the basics. First, cover up your basics first. Be confident in your basics. After that, only try touching these concepts of threading and all, because this might be very confusing. Okay, so yeah, if you have any doubts, please post it in the chat box. Okay, I'll send you the PPT of these threads. Videos and all we will share, but if you have doubts, please ask, okay. If you have any doubts regarding this difference between preset and hash set, okay. uh, See, hash set, I told you ki hash set stores data in a, like wherever the word hash comes, okay, hash set you have, hash map you have, at that time what happens is the data is stored in an unordered way. It uses something called hashing. Okay, if you Google up what is hashing, then you'll know about it. Okay, so because of that, data is stored in an unordered way. Okay, uh, and then in a tree set, or like if you take a linked hash set, their data is stored in a ordered way. In which way you have added it. Okay, we also have tables. Okay, hash set and tree set. Tree set. See, what is tree set is key. Uh, Preset also maintains the sorted order. Okay, like either you have a compare, like if you have to compare it as, okay, difference between a thread and a process. Okay, see, uh, process is like a single task which you do. Okay, if you feel like going into talking a thread versus process, then see, a program like a program in execution is often referred as a process. Okay, if you have a single program running, that would be referred as a process. But thread is a subpart, or you kind of divided that whole thing into multiple subparts. That process, that would call a thread. So that, like if you look from the above, that would look at a single process, but internally those are two processes running simultaneously. Okay, processes can contain multiple threads. Okay, thread is like a very small part. You can also have very small thing if you want to do it simultaneously, because and it is also referred as tasks. Okay, you can refer it like different tasks, you have different threads. Okay, uh, post your doubts if you have any. Okay, like if you have done in any other language like in C, or like mainly in colleges and all, they teach C, there you have to work on this. Like you have to start from scratch if you are making any data structure. Okay, here we have those inside the collections framework, and you can directly implement those data structures. Okay, if you can, we like we saw a program using map. Okay, map, we saw key, we store data in a key value pair. So if you want to like if you are making an application, if you want to store data over there in a like to key value pair, if there is some unique identity or an ID number of that particular person, and if you want to store its name, then you can do that. Okay. Again, if you're like using some NoSQL databases like MongoDB or Cloud Firestore, if you have worked with, there we have to pass data in a key value pair. Okay. Like in a SQL database, a normal SQL database, we have tables and all. Okay. So there we directly pass on the data inside the table and they are added over there. But if you are using a NoSQL database, there it is a flexible database. Okay, you can have any numbers of queries in any number of documents. So there you have to pass data in a key value pair, and then in that case you have to use a map. Okay, so that is an application of map, I would say a very major application of map. Okay, when you're using NoSQL databases, then you have to use map. You cannot pass data without using a map. Okay. Uh, so please post your doubt if you have. Otherwise, we'll finish up for today. Okay. Yeah, we'll see database connectivity also. Today we have this thing was more important. That's why I thought today you should do this. Database connectivity is not a big deal if you know uh, how to pass database queries. Okay, you can directly pass those queries over here. Like you can just make a string. Like if you are working with SQL, you can directly pass a string key, select star from this, and then it will automatically. I'll show you tomorrow. Okay, in tomorrow session we'll do that. How can we do it? How can we fire up database queries in Java? We have to do a little bit configuration. We have to download the SQL or whatever your database you are using. We have to download its jar file also. So I'll set up that whole configuration. I'll tell it to you tomorrow. Okay? Yeah, multi-threading is the same thing. Ki two processes are operating at the same time. I told you an example of that. Ki if you are making an Android app, okay, or Android, no, any application you are making, okay, in that time, sometimes it may happen ki uh, you're doing some heavy stuff, you're doing some heavy networking, you're uploading something or you're downloading something. And that time, if you don't use a thread, your application might freeze for that time. Okay, until the whole thing is getting executed. Okay, so you don't want that time kind of freezing to happen in your application. Okay, so in that time you can like do these two, you can use threading and perform that downloading task in one thread and perform the other operations you want to do, or you want to continue with the other things, you can do that in the other thread. So that's the thing, you can perform multiple functions you call, or multiple processes simultaneously. That's why we have multi-threading. Okay. Mm, okay, so I hope everyone's doubt is done. I will finish up for today. Okay. Uh, Hello, sir. We can end the meeting. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Okay.